Now, in Hebrews 4:12, we just discussed how God's words are. His words is a double-edged sword. The next verse that we're going to be looking at is Psalms 146, verse 6, okay? So you can turn with me to that. Psalms 146 and 6. Go on the bed, Juliet. Thank you. I heard you. So Psalms 146. And we're going to be on verse 6, okay? Who made heaven and earth, the sea and all that is in them? Who keeps truth forever? Who executes justice for the oppressed? Who gives food to the hungry? The Lord gives freedom to the prisoners. The Lord opens the eyes of the blind. The Lord raises those who are bowed down. The Lord loves the righteous. The Lord watches over the strangers. He relieves the fatherless and widow. But the way of the wicked he turns upside down. The Lord shall reign forever, your God, O Zion, to all nations. Okay, so I also want you to turn with me to, we're going to go to Proverbs 5, verse 3 through 6, okay? For the lips of an immoral woman drip honey, and her mouth is smoother than oil. But in the end she is bitter as wormwood, sharp as a two-edged sword. Now here we're talking about how words can be used in a dangerous, negative, hurtful kind of way. And it comes from a bitter heart, where it originates from. I'm going to highlight that. You guys can too. I want to start from the beginning of chapter 5. And we're going to read all the way through 6, okay? So it says here, chapter 5 of Proverbs, my son, pay attention to my wisdom. Lend your ear to my understanding. So pay close attention, discerning attention to this, okay? That you may preserve discretion and your lips may keep knowledge. Note the word discretion. You guys can look at the definition of that. I will write that down for you to revise so that when you're reading this, you understand it completely. And the authority of that word. And your lips may keep knowledge. Look that up too. For the lips of an immoral woman drip honey, and her mouth is smoother than oil. Look up the definition of the term immoral. And read this verse again when you get a chance. But in the end, she is bitter as wormwood. So basically, you can't trust the words coming from someone who has this type of mentality or withhold so much within themselves that they don't release what they're feeling to God so he can carry the weight and heal them. So they hold on to that energy of whatever conflict they've embraced in their lives. They kind of cling to it, and over time they become bitter, salty, as they say, vindictive, and it starts to leak out of them because it's in their heart. So it leaks out of the way that they speak, how they speak verbally, how they speak physically, how they carry themselves. Very important details here. It says here, her feet go down to death. Her steps lay hold of hell. Do you see what I'm saying to you? Very destructive energy. Look up the definition, death and hell. I want you to look that up. Lest you ponder your path of life. Unless you ponder the path of life, encouragement, healing, uplifting, inspirational. Her ways are unstable. Do you know how he spoke about ways here as well? You do not know them. Therefore, hear me now, my children. This is verse 7. I'm going a little farther. And do not depart from the words of my mouth. Pay attention to what he's saying. Remove your way from her, and do not go near the door of her house. I want you to circle verse 8. We're going to revisit that later when we talk about doorways. Okay? All right. And now I want you to turn with me to Proverbs 12, verse 18. Let us continue our examination of the duality of words, how they can be positive, how they can be negative, a double-edged sword. Okay? How they can hurt you and how they can hurt others. Okay? So we're going to chapter 12 and we're going to read verse 18. There is one who speaks like the piercing of a sword, but the tongue of the wise promotes health. Now this is where he's talking about words and how we use it, his creations. Note how it is equal to the power of how God uses it. It's still a double-edged sword. Now listen to this. And then he warns us about our use of our tongue too. Be careful what you speak. Your words have the potential to hurt. It says here, we're going to start from verse 17 in chapter 12 of Proverbs. He who speaks truth declares righteousness. Listen to that. But a false witness, deceit. He who speaks truth declares righteousness. Look up the definition of righteousness, guys. I want you to pull that out so you understand the power of that word and what it really stands for, righteousness. And I want you to look up the definition of deceit so you understand the authority of that word and what it stands for. And listen to this verse again. He who speaks truth declares righteousness, but a false witness, deceit. There is one who speaks like the piercing of a sword. So there's a person out there, and every person, and every one or two persons who speaks like the piercing of a sword, but the tongue of the wise promotes health. The truthful lip shall be established forever, but a lying tongue is but for a moment. So now he talks about how your manifestation from what you speak, and the longevity of it in terms of what you create. So he says here, but the truthful lip shall be established forever. So truth is forever. It's undeniable. You cannot run from that. And then it says, but a lying tongue is but a moment. Deceit is in the hearts of those who devise evil, but counselors of peace have joy. Power of words. Power of casting, because you are casting something into your existence. And with that being said, I want you to look up the definition for me of the word casting.